Hey guys, so generation rent, do they have an argument? And look guys, generation rent, they're the thorn in the side of most landlords right now in the UK. There's no doubt about it. But look, before I get into that, look, be sure to subscribe, press the little bell, so you get notifications, and comment any comments you've got. Happy to answer, happy to get engage, and really get you the understanding you need to invest confidently, because I think this is one of the key now. There's so many changes, so many things going on. We want you to be able to invest with confidence in whatever the market is. So guys, subscribe, comment, and we'll get into it. So yes, so generation rent. I mean, generation rent and shelter and these sort of things, they're blaming landlords and vilifying landlords. And part of the reason is, and we're to blame to some degree. We don't have one body, one voice. We don't have a overriding position that we sit in, because most of us are landlords, individual landlords, accidental landlords, and we've got busy lives, so we're not paying someone to represent us, and therefore we're an easy target. And that's one of the challenges we've got right now, is that we're an easy target for people like generation rent and shelter. Now, do they have a point? They have a point for the 1%, yeah. But as a general, and a lot of statements they make are absolute BS. And they're a bunch of raving idiots, as far as I'm concerned. And I say that quite strongly because, there are issues in the industry. There are issues with housing. There are issues with landlords. And you know what? You would find most landlords are quite happy to work and provide good lettings and accommodations to the people renting. Absolutely. I don't have any problem with that whatsoever. I don't have any problem, but it's got to work both ways. And the problem is that it hasn't been working both ways. These guys have been making all sorts of outlandish claims. They've been in the media, and they're pandering to the media, and they're doing a very good job of it. And unfortunately, landlords, we need a kick in the ass, because we're not defending ourselves very well. We're not coming back with proper arguments. I mean, yes, people like ALA and National Association Landlords, great, but they're just not effective enough. They're not effective enough, and part of it is because they use facts, they use experience, they use the data that is there. Whereas generation rents and shelter, what do they use? They use case studies, and they use emotions. So you've got on one side landlords that are going down the logical route, and you've got the generation rent and shelter that are going down the emotional route, and that will get column inches. That'll get more column inches, and that'll get people up in a fury. And at the end of the day, landlords haven't been very good at this, and we have to get better at this. Otherwise, we're going to keep being the kicking block, for anything that goes wrong in the industry. Now, nobody is saying, and we have 1,200 properties. We represent about 1,200 landlords, And the interesting thing is, across those landlords, I don't think there's any of them that don't agree with providing good housing. That we don't have, and if there is, generally they won't stay with us, because we'll get rid of them. If they're not prepared to do what they need to do to, stay within the regulations and do these sort of things, then they're out the door. It's as simple as that, because we can't afford to have them. And we don't want to have them anyway, because at the end of the day, we are providing a service, and we want to provide the best service possible. And if you're, as a landlord, you're not prepared to do that, well, guess what? Invite yourself, or welcome yourself to the 1% of slum landlords, unscrupulous landlords, or whatever you want to call it, whatever the flavour of the week is, to vilify a whole body of people that actually provide a bloody good service, and who have, for the last really, and it's probably been 5, 6, 7 years now, been copping and sweet from every angle, from regulation, from taxation, from the market, from Brexit, from every angle. We've become the punching bag, and it's not warranted. If you're talking about the 1%, fine, but there's the 99% who actually are bloody good landlords, who look after the place, who do the maintenance when they need to. And unfortunately, it's not only generation rent and shelter and guys like that who are to blame now, and who are playing this emotions and this, getting column inches in media game. It's the law. The law has got to the point where it doesn't represent fair and equitable outcomes. what it does, it represents, yeah, the lowest common denominator and the lowest common form. And unfortunately, it's so bogged down with lack of funding, lack of resources, and all these sort of things, that actually what ends up happening is, you know, we've got somebody who's been in a place for 2 years, paid no rent, yeah, and, you know, it's the judges refuse to rule on it. They keep sending it up to the next court, sending it up to the next court, because she keeps playing the game, and everybody knows she's playing a game. Even the judges know she's playing a game, you know. But unfortunately, it's come to the point where, you know, it's probably £40,000 being spent to get to this level, and the judges' comments are that we should look to settle out of court to get her out of the property. You know, it's ridiculous. You know, she's been on the human rights thing. She's used public money to raise all sorts of things. They've cut her off now, you know, because they realise that she's not being truthful. You know, it's amazing how bad things have got. And unfortunately, that's the situation we see us in. So do Generation and Shelter have a thing? They have and make no mistake, they have a voice, and they should have a voice. And absolutely, and I've got no problems with that. I think the way they go about it is wrong. Yeah, it's immoral what they're doing, and I think vilifying the way they do, you know, is unacceptable. But you know, they're trying to get their point across. The problem is, for landlords, is we're not doing the job that we should. So we need to start to come together and have a voice and start lobbying, you know, to get our point heard. And you know, we're not asking for much. We're asking for a legal system that actually provides a fair and equitable. I mean, it's all good to say the tenant, you know, is going to be homeless, but what about the landlord who has to try and pay the mortgage, and because they haven't got the rent to cover the mortgage, they have to now sacrifice their lifestyle. They have to start thinking about whether they're going to pay this bill or that bill, because that's where it's got to. I mean, you know, most of these places now that are, you know, the taxation has gone up on them, the return has gone down on them, you know, all these sort of things have been happening. So we can sit here and say we've had it fairly good for a long time, but the reality is, you know, now it's gone, the pendulum's gone far too the other way, where now it is ridiculous what's happening. So, look, Generation Man, yeah, you've got a voice and you've got a thing, but I think the way you're going about it is appalling. I think the way that you know, if you want to get your point across, and, you know, then sit down and work with us. Don't be this, you know, ridiculous thing where unfortunately we have to start attacking you and showing just how ridiculous some of the things you are, you know, in order to get our point across. We should be working together, and we should be actually sitting down and looking at the points. Most landlords, in fact, most landlords don't have a problem with the basis of what you're saying, you know. But when you've got councils who say, no, don't pay your rent, don't, just stay in the property until the bailiff comes, yeah, and then we'll find you a place to live. I mean, that's just ridiculous. You know, they are part, I mean, you know, and these are councils that are party to the crime, you know, and it should be a crime too. You know, it's ridiculous. But anyway, that's my rant for today. So, you know, do they have a place? Yes, they do. But how they're going about it, appalling. You know, but landlords, you know, we have to do something about it. So, yeah. Anyway, guys, subscribe, comment. I'm sure I'll get some fun and games on the comments this time. But have a great day. Live with passion. See you.